This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
I've been working with the IMAX format for years now. IMAX.
Christopher Nolan has an unhealthy obsession with film and IMAX cameras, as we all know and love, or some of you hate him for. But this obsession with using IMAX to the extreme has been a very costly one for him over the years, as he has pushed these cameras to the brink, and in some cases to the point of no return, destroying multiple IMAX cameras throughout his filmmaking career in spectacular fashion.
Really treating an IMAX camera like a GoPro camera.
We all cringe at the videos of cameras being outright destroyed that we see all over social media. But imagine how far out of your body your heart would drop losing a camera that is insured for up to $500,000 and reportedly could be worth up to $2 million. Well, sit back and enjoy as we recount the stories of Christopher Nolan destroying some of the most expensive cameras ever made, by car, by bike, and by plane. So what is an IMAX camera for those of you who are not overly familiar with them? IMAX originally was founded as a company that made multi-screen projection movies that were even displayed at the Labyrinth Pavilion at the Expo 67. And eventually the first IMAX showing was demonstrated in Japan in 1970, and finally the first permanent IMAX installation was built in 1971. Now, what does IMAX actually mean? IMAX means actually several different things. It's a proprietary system that spans across cameras, film formats, and massive theaters with expansive screens, typically around 1.41:1 or 1.90:1. And Christopher Nolan just recently showed off what the difference looks like in this picture for the upcoming movie, Oppenheimer. It's pretty cool, but with the 70mm film it takes to make an IMAX picture, it's really massive and a super long reel, being reported for Oppenheimer to be close to
11 miles of film for one screen.
But in order to record such a massive format, you need a camera that is capable of tackling the 15 per 65mm film. And that's where IMAX has created film cameras capable of taking on this task. And at times there have only been 4 of these cameras in existence, where today it is reported that they have at least 12 IMAX cameras. And they are massive and really loud. Nolan has been a pioneer in finding new ways to use these cameras, especially considering the limitations they impose with their size. And one might wonder, how do you destroy such large cameras? Nolan really was the first person to give IMAX a shot when it came to professional filmmaking, and he ended up using 28 minutes worth of IMAX footage for his second Batman movie, The Dark Knight.
No one knew it was going to be executed smoothly. No one knew whether you could shoot action sequences in IMAX. Because if you think about it, IMAX is generally a couple of penguins walking across a snowfield.
Chris's perspective has always been, think of the IMAX films that you remember. They're the ones where the astronauts have had the camera in space. They've taken the cameras up Mount Everest. So if they can do that, then surely we can shoot on the streets of Chicago with an IMAX camera.
But that doesn't mean he was by any means delicate with the gear. Nolan's first lost IMAX camera met its demise during a chase scene in downtown Chicago, where Nolan decided he wanted to use practical effects to show the destruction being caused throughout Gotham City. That meant blowing up a truck on set for real, to an awesome effect. Except the camera didn't live to see it. During the filming of this stunt, the destroyed truck flipped over and smashed right into the camera.
We covered it from a lot of different angles, I think 7 different angles, 4 IMAX cameras, 2 VistaVision 135.
And this is where the story actually gets a little bit interesting. After some careful digging, we actually found some discrepancies in where it is reported the camera was actually destroyed. There are some reports of this camera meeting its demise earlier on in the chase scene in either one of the trucks or armored vehicles as they were racing through the tunnels below, or one of the cameras that were up close to the cars got just a little too close. And the reason we tend to believe that this is the more accurate story is because if you listen back to when Nolan said that they used 7 cameras for the truck flipping scene, he still says that they are using 4 IMAX cameras.
4 IMAX cameras.
Which reportedly is all that existed at this point in time in 2008. But of course, if you think that they had 4 cameras until this scene, if you look closely at all the angles captured of this truck flipping, you never actually see anything really beneath it or even close to it. And finally, you might even say, was there even an actual camera that was destroyed, or could it have just been a rumor? Well, we did some extra digging and found that it was specifically the IMAX MSM 9802 camera that was destroyed by a stunt vehicle. Reportedly, Mike Hendricks, the director of IMAX's camera department, was the one to repair the actual camera. In fact, this is something he's been doing for quite a while, and we tracked down this video that seems to have been removed from the main IMAX YouTube channel.
People, when they're composing
analyzing a shot really are asking that tough question. Is this a good idea? Is this a good place to put this camera? Is it going to survive this kind of a shot? What matters most is that they get that shot. And that might mean hurting the camera. I think cameras often come back pretty beat up. And what our job is to turn them around quickly, is to paint them back up, bring them to as new condition, and just send them right back out into the battlefield.
So of course, you would assume that the crew took a lot of extra steps to make sure that this didn't happen again, right? 4 years later, during the filming of the last movie in the Nolan trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises, a stunt double for Catwoman crashed right into one of the IMAX cameras with the film's Batpod motorcycle. And if you're a camera enthusiast like me, you'll probably find it a heartbreaking watch. Or if you're Nolan's accountant, because as TMZ so simply summed it up when this happened, the budget for Batman: The Dark Knight Rises might have just jumped up another 6 figures. Finally, the last of these incidents took place during the production of Nolan's World War II blockbuster Dunkirk. Dunkirk was another great milestone for IMAX because Christopher Nolan decided to use it for the vast majority of filming, an estimated 75% to be precise.
On the IMAX film prints, the audience gains, through the higher resolution, through the analog color depth, a very, very immersive experience.
But of course, giving IMAX more of a role in the production means putting it at greater risk, since war movies don't tend to be very delicate. And so when it came time for Nolan to use one of his IMAX cameras to film a real plane crash, there was some potential for things to go wrong. The idea was, though, that the Dunkirk crew wanted to show a plane getting shot down in the aftermath of an aerial dogfight, and to get some authenticity for it, they would really dump the plane in the water. The trouble was, they planned for the plane to float, allowing the crew to retrieve the film after the shot, and instead it immediately sank into the ocean.
It hit and then quickly went to the bottom before anybody could get to it with an IMAX camera attached to it.
Compromising the camera's crash housing, the rig, the mag, and the camera itself. But thankfully, the production team managed to retrieve the film anyway after 90 minutes with a crew of divers, and the film was ultimately restored to its full glory. And this actually ended up being another compliment to Nolan's love of film over digital, because cinematographer Hoyt van Hoytema made it clear that if this was digital, all that footage would be lost. And Nolan wouldn't just need to hire the divers to rescue the footage. He'd need to buy a whole new plane to crash. And one has to wonder, will Christopher Nolan yet again find a creative way to destroy yet another IMAX camera in his upcoming movie Oppenheimer? But perhaps this time it was with an atomic bomb. Well, hopefully that's not the case, because you should definitely check out this video on the special black and white IMAX film he's using for that movie right here. Don't forget to use my Raid Shadow Legends link in the description or scan my QR code to get insane bonuses for new players with an epic champion. You can click that right here.